Let's do a yes, no, maybe review for classic books. The first book is To Kill a Mockingbird. I think that this is one of the best classics that I read, and I am so sorry that I did not read this while being in high school, because in my country you don't really study novels that are written by foreign writers. We mainly study novels that are written by our writers, which are pretty old. And unfortunately, I did not read this book when I was very young. I read this book in 2020 when I had just come back from the UK and it was the pandemic. I was bored and I was like, let me finally read this book. I read so many good reviews about it, and versatile. Some people loved it, some people didn't, and I think that's because you have to read it in high school. So when you have to read it because you have to, then automatically you don't really like it. Well, I read it because I wanted to, and I loved it. So for this reason, this classic is a big yes for me. The Catcher in the Rye. I was surprised that I liked this book. Just the same as with To Kill a Mockingbird, I read very different reviews about this book and more negative than positive. However, my take on this book is a positive one. I don't remember much. I just remember that I was pretty much uncomfortable while reading it, and at the same time, I kind of found myself in some of the situations that I read in this book. I also have the other two popular books, Nine Stories and Franny and Zoe, I think, are the other ones from Salinger, and I would like to read them. One of the best things about this book is that it's a short book, so it's very accessible to, every age. I still think that it would be best if you would read it when you're a teenager or maybe in your 20s. I mean, I'm pretty sure that you would love it later on too, but I think that you would connect with it better if you would read it when you're a teenager. It's a yes for me. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I will say this again, that this is my all-time favorite book, and I don't have anything not positive or not amazing to say about this book. This novel changed my perspective over what a classic book should look like. I was scared of reading classics, and this was one of my first classic books. And what can I say? I did a separate review on this book. If you want to watch it, go watch it. I think that this is not only a classic, this is also a thriller, this is also a mystery book. This is also a very well shaped with amazingly portrayed characters, and I loved everything about it. What I didn't love is the fact that I finished it. So this is the biggest yes from this whole list. The next one is Madame Bovary. Madame Bovary, I didn't like this book. I'm sorry, but I didn't. I think that one of the main reasons why I didn't like it is because I kept comparing it. Actually, no. I'm sorry. I read Madame Bovary before Anna Karenina, and as you know, sometimes they're being compared as, the French masterpiece or the French Anna, and then the Russian Anna. Gustave Flaubert is... I don't want to judge him. I haven't read any other books that he wrote. Maybe I will, but I think that this is more like an essay on life. This is not a proper story of suicide and of unhappiness and of marriage. This is my understanding of it. I was 16 when I read it, and I think that's one of the first mistakes that I did. I tried to go way too deep into the classics when I was way too young, and for this reason, I didn't like it. So this one will be a no. The Chandler House of Parma is a no. I will say it from the beginning because I haven't even finished it. I read maybe 25% of it. I also had very high expectations from this book because I had watched the mini TV series, the Italian version, when I was, I don't know, 12, 13, and I had an image in my mind of over what the story would be like, but this wasn't a proper story. This was more like, let me just try and write something because Stendhal tried very much to become a writer, and in my opinion, he didn't succeed. Unfortunately, this is one of the worst classics that I read, and the main reason is the writing style. He wasn't able to put A, B, and C together. He went from A to D, and then to C, and then to F, and so on. You couldn't even understand, is he in the present now, or is he after a week? Because these things were happening and were taking place in the same sentence. And, I couldn't keep on with that, so no. The Scarlet Letter. Yes, I did read this book, and no one made me read it. I don't know why I tried to read it. Maybe because I liked the story, but I didn't like the book. I mean, the book only has like 200 pages, but it felt like an eternity. And this was back when I was reading maybe 3-4 books in a week. I didn't like anything about this book. I mean, I like the story. I don't understand how this can be taught in high schools in the United States. Correct me if I'm wrong, as far as I know, at least it used to be taught in schools. I think it's way too difficult. And the portrayal of how women are seen, I don't think that's only how it happened, but maybe also the writer's views. So yeah, big no. Crime and Punishment. I couldn't finish this book. I think that there's some kind of movement right now over wanting to like Dostoevsky, and I don't agree with it. Or maybe it's just me that keeps seeing that. I couldn't connect with him. I couldn't connect with him, with this novel, with this classic. I wanted to like it, that's why I kept going. I think I read maybe 200 pages or something. But Jesus, it killed me. So I had to put it down. This is a no. Mrs. Dalloway. Mrs. Dalloway, I read this book after I read The Hours by Michael Cunningham, because I wanted to understand better where the writer is coming from, because as you know, and if you haven't read The Hours, I think that you should, and also watch the movie. That's my favorite movie. The Hours follows the story of Virginia Woolf, and it's showing her writing this novel, Mrs. Dalloway. Then, I think 30 years later, a woman who's reading her book after it's being published, and then 40 years later, there's a third woman who's being nicknamed Mrs. Dalloway in her flowers, and all three are connected through something. But it's very interesting to see how the writer saw Virginia. And again, the movie is exceptional with Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, and Julianne Moore. Basically, I wanted to read Mrs. Dalloway to understand what Mrs. Dalloway was actually about, but I didn't. I was 17 when I tried to read this one, and I didn't understand it then. I will get back to it in the future. I think that Virginia is an interesting writer. I just couldn't connect with her when I was 17. Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. This is the only book from Daphne that I didn't like. I could not connect with it, with the characters. The writing style was, as it always is, amazing, but I didn't like the story, and I think that it was very boring. It bored me. I remember that I was 15 and I had the opportunity to go to my aunt in Spain for the whole summer. Well, 2 months or maybe a little over 2 months. And I took with me 3 books: Miss Peregrine, that I already finished, Jamaica Inn, and The Magicians. Well, I couldn't finish all of them because it took me almost 2 months to read this one. And I was sorry for that because I had, again, high expectations, and that's one thing that I need to learn, to not have high expectations from books anymore. And I think it's a 2-star for me. So, no. The Picture of Dorian Gray. I was also 17 when I read this book, and maybe again I was too young to understand everything. Even though I think that I understood the whole book, I just didn't like what happened in it. I had very, very different expectations from it. I remember I wanted to stop reading it, and I stopped, and then I got back to it because I never like to not finish books, to leave books unfinished, and I finished it. It was pretty short, but I succeeded to read it in no less than 3 weeks, I think, or 2 weeks. And for these reasons, this is a no for me. Of Mice and Men, I think this is a maybe. Yes, this is a maybe, because I liked the story. This is a novella, and I would have liked it to be longer. I think that the subject could have been developed way more. This is about 2 men. One of them is smarter, and the other one is not smart at all, but he's a very nice guy. However, he cannot control himself, and he does something very stupid that will unfortunately make him meet his end. And the shorter one is trying to take care of the bigger one. They're not related, they're just good friends. And by trying so much to take care of him, he kind of falls deep down as well, even though not like the big guy. And I liked this story a lot. I didn't like the ending, even though I had expected it. So for these reasons, this will be my maybe. Wuthering Heights. I also did a separate review on this one if you want to watch it. I loved everything about it. It took me maybe 2 weeks to finish it. I was also 16 when I read it. And I remember that my friends were texting me and I wasn't responding to any texts because I think it was the spring holiday and they wanted to go out, and I wanted to finish this book because I connected with it after some days. At the beginning it was pretty difficult to connect with it, but then I did, and when I did, I couldn't put it down. And I had my Wi-Fi switched off so I can read this beautiful novel, and I finished it and I loved it. And I also loved the latest adaptation. I didn't like the past adaptations. For these reasons, this is a very big yes. My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. This is also a very big yes. This is my first Daphne novel that I absolutely adored, and it took me some time after that to find Rebecca, my favorite novel. And Daphne, I'm so lucky that I found you. I'm so lucky that you were alive. I'm sorry that you weren't happy, but I think that out of this unhappiness, you succeeded to make millions of readers happy with your amazing books. So thank you for that. Big yes. Jane Eyre will definitely be a yes. Similar to Rebecca, I think that this is pretty much a mystery thriller classic Victorian book. And even though it's pretty big, I had no issues going through it. I read it pretty quick, maybe a week, and I loved it. I think that most of you who read it loved it. And Charlotte Bronte, out of all three sisters, I think is the easiest to go through when it comes to her novels, when it comes to the way she describes, when it comes to the way she writes. So yeah, yes. Anna Karenina is, again, one of my favorite books, and I can understand why people tend to be scared of this book because it's very big. It has almost 1,000. Well, it depends on what edition you have. This one has 800 something pages. I remember the version I read in my native language because Russian is more similar to Romanian, my native language, when it comes to certain expressions. So I'm pretty happy that I read it in my native language and not in English. But I understand why some people tend to be scared of it. Don't. Leo is very talented. He writes exceptional books. I actually have this novel in 1, 2, 3, 4 separate editions, and I won't show you all, but I want to show you one edition that you'll see. Actually, I stand corrected. This is War and Peace, and this is from 1954, and it's a 4 volumes edition. I don't remember why. I think I also had Anna Karenina in this edition, but maybe the age. Anyway, let me show you how beautiful this novel is. It's also in a very good condition. It doesn't have any mold. It just smells old, but I like the smell of old books, and I'm very happy I own this edition. Anna Karenina and Madame Bovary, I remember I did a project in school where I compared the two, and obviously Anna is the winner, but there's a similarity between them two that when I read Anna, I was like, okay, so this maybe was a contest between Leo, the Russian, and Gustave, the French. Of course, Anna is the winner. Dracula. Dracula is amazing. It's a big yes. It's a wow yes. I loved the story, and not because it's from my country. I liked the story because I think it's very original. It's scary but not horror. Big, big, big yes. And the last one, our English Jane Austen, is a big yes. I was scared to read it in English because I also read it when I was 16, 17 and my English wasn't that good back then. Maybe I'm even a bit scared to read it now in English because I don't really like the old English, but I'll definitely give it a shot in English. This one is a must if you read classics, if you like classics, and it's one of the best classic I ever read as well. Big yes. So these are my yes, maybe only one, and no. Maybe Dorian Gray should be a maybe. I'm between maybe and no. Let's say maybe, so we can have two. So yes, maybe, and no. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree, if you read any of them, and what are your thoughts. Subscribe, like, and comment for more content. See you next time.